I always thought teasing was harmless, that a couple who truly loved each other could joke about anything, even the kind of remarks that made everyone else uncomfortable. For years, that was Ryan and me. Our relationship thrived on laughter, sarcasm, and playful banter that made every dinner with friends feel electric. What I didn't notice was when playful started tipping into painful, when the jokes I cracked for laughs began leaving quiet bruises I couldn't see. Ryan was never the loudest in the room. He carried himself with a calm kind of confidence. 6 feet tall, broad shoulders, that quiet strength that doesn't need proving. He was a man who'd pull over to help strangers change a tire, who never raised his voice even when others did. But that night, sitting across from him at our favorite restaurant, I made a joke that split something inside us that would never heal. It began small, the way these things usually do. A few drinks in, everyone sharing stories, laughter spilling over the table. Someone mentioned a mugging nearby and asked Ryan what he'd do if it happened to us. Before he could answer, I laughed. "Oh, please," I said, smiling too wide. Ryan would probably apologize to the guy and hand over his wallet. The table erupted with laughter. Everyone except him. I saw his jaw tighten, that tiny shift that meant I'd gone too far. I should have stopped, but I didn't. "Seriously," I added, nudging his arm, "he's too gentle for all that tough guy stuff. If someone ever tried to grab me, I'd probably have to protect him." My friends laughed again, but the sound fell hollow. It didn't reach him. I could feel it. He went quiet, said nothing for the rest of dinner. When the check came, he paid it, left his usual generous tip, and excused himself to the restroom. He never came back. I waited. 10 minutes. 20. When I finally stepped outside, his car was gone. I called, no answer. Texted, nothing. By the time I got home 2 hours later, half the house was empty. His side of the closet, bare. Toothbrush gone. The drawer where he kept his wallet and watch, open and empty. At first, I told myself he just needed space, that he'd come home after cooling off. But by morning, I knew better. It wasn't anger that made him leave. It was something quieter, final. He'd reached the kind of silence that says everything words can't. The note he left was short. "I've spent years trying to be enough for you. Strength doesn't always look like what you think it does. I hope you understand that someday, before it's too late with someone else." I must have read that note 100 times. The words were calm, heartbreakingly gentle. No bitterness, just the acceptance of someone who'd finally stopped trying to be understood. The days that followed were unbearably heavy. The house echoed with his absence, the quiet where his laughter used to be. I kept listening for his keys at the door, for his soft "hey" from the hallway, but it never came. Instead, there was silence, and the kind of regret that crawls beneath your skin when you know you've broken something you can't fix. People say words don't hurt like actions. They're wrong. Words can bruise. They can chip away at trust until there's nothing left to stand on. And when you use them as jokes too many times, they teach the person you love that they'll never be safe with you. I thought he'd forgive me. He always had before. But this time, something inside him had closed for good. That first week without Ryan felt like someone had unplugged my life. Everything still existed, the walls, the furniture, my reflection, but none of it worked the same. His absence wasn't loud. It was eerily quiet. No half-finished coffee mugs on the counter. No soft hum of his music from the garage. Just silence that swallowed every step I took. I replayed that night again and again. The way his eyes fell when everyone laughed, the way his fingers tapped the table instead of meeting my gaze. I had humiliated him in front of our friends and called it humor. I turned his gentleness into a punchline. The cruelest part was, I didn't even mean it. Ryan wasn't weak. He was the strongest man I'd ever known because he stayed kind in a world that rewarded cruelty. Our friends stopped asking about him after a few days. I told them we just needed space, that he was staying with family. But deep down, I knew what they didn't. He wasn't coming back. There's a kind of leaving that only happens once. You can tell by the stillness it leaves behind. 2 weeks later, I saw him by accident, sitting at a cafe near my office, coffee in hand, scrolling through his phone. He looked calm, lighter, like the weight I'd put on him had finally lifted. I wanted to go to him, to say something, anything. But what could I possibly say to a man I'd made feel small? He looked up, saw me, and gave a small nod. Not angry, not cold, just final. The calm of a man who'd already made peace with the ending. I stood there for a long time before turning away, my throat thick with everything I'd never said. That night, I found one of his shirts in the laundry basket. It still smelled faintly like his cologne, warm and woodsy. I sat on the floor holding it, realizing how many times I'd chosen pride over kindness, sarcasm over love. Ryan didn't leave because of one cruel joke. He left because that joke was the last crack in a long line of little cuts. He used to tell me love wasn't proven in big gestures. It was in small, daily acts of care. I used to roll my eyes, calling him sentimental. But now, alone in the quiet, I finally understood. Strength isn't shouting or dominance. Sometimes it's walking away, quietly with dignity, from the person you once would have fought for. A month later, I wrote him, not to beg or apologize endlessly, but to tell the truth. You were never weak. You were the only one who stayed kind in a world that rewards cruelty. I confused gentleness with fragility, and I see now how wrong I was. I hope you found peace, even if it isn't with me. He never replied. Maybe he didn't need to. Maybe closure isn't something someone gives you. Maybe it's what you find when you finally stop lying to yourself. Some nights, I still think about the life we could have had. If I had learned to protect him the way he always protected me, from the noise, the cruelty, even from my own words. The irony isn't lost on me. I mocked him for being too gentle to defend me, when in truth, I was the one who needed saving. He walked out that night not because he was weak, but because he was strong enough to stop proving his worth to someone who refused to see it. And now I understand that was the bravest thing anyone's ever done for me.